welcome to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. I want to wish everybody listening a happy belated Mother's Day. We just celebrated Mother's Day this past weekend, and for some it is a awesome holiday that you get to, maybe you were the ones being celebrated, maybe you are celebrating someone else. And for some, it is not such a great holiday. Maybe that's because you are a non-traditional mother, or you have had a non-typical experience being a mother or having a mother in your life. Or sometimes it's just we have family members who aren't always the best at supporting us or celebrating us, and we can feel let down by the experience, or maybe anywhere in between. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit today about my experience. I call it a little bit of a non-traditional mothering experience growing up, and a little bit about maybe how that affects me today. So Mother's Day for me this year was pretty awesome. My husband is really great at celebrating me almost. I feel like I don't deserve that kind of treatment, and he goes above and beyond to celebrate me. And so I am really grateful to have someone in my life who really does care about me and shows our children how to care about me. And for me, it was a really nice day, but I know I have family members and friends who this day wasn't really a great day for various reasons, and there's lots of things we could talk about related to that, but for me as well, if you have followed and listened, my mom died when I was 7, so from that Mother's Day from age 7, which I would have been in first grade, all the ones after that, I didn't have her to celebrate. And so those first few were often harder. I just distinctly remember wondering in class when the teachers started talking about Mother's Day gifts and Mother's Day cards and what they were making for Mother's Day for that year. For me, it was, well, who do I make mine for? Because I don't have one of those anymore. Our family, we believed that my mom was in heaven, and, I knew what that meant, and, but, I can't give her a card in heaven. So those things were a little difficult, but it has been, it will be 30 years this year in August that she, has been deceased. This was the 29th Mother's Day without her. And it is a question that I get is, how is Mother's Day for you? And for me, Mother's Day, like celebrating or thinking about my mom, I would say anymore is not typically a sad day. It's been almost 30 years. So it's been a long time. I'm a grown woman. I have my own kids. And for me, I guess that's what I think about more is, actually, my daughter is the same age now as I was when my mom died. So I find myself thinking about that, wondering what, seeing her and just knowing like what we're doing in life now and what I was doing in life from what I recall when I was her age, and what kinds of things I did or thought I needed to do, and how life looked. And sometimes that piece will make me sad. I don't necessarily get sad on Mother's Day anymore. I go and visit her grave, and I didn't get to plant flowers this year. The way things worked out, we didn't have time to do that specifically, but I did go see her grave and pulled a few weeds, and everything looked great. And I will be going back there soon to maybe plant some flowers in the ground and check everything out. But that's not really where I go to see or talk to my mom. Mine's often just conversations that I might have in my head, or just thinking about her. And that's kind of how I involve my mom. Sometimes stories. So I was at church on a Sunday morning, and they mentioned moms, and they talked about certain things. And sometimes the messages will make me tear up and cry when I think about my mom or thinking about missing her. But it's not an everyday occurrence anymore. It's usually not unless I'm specifically thinking about something related to her, or I might hear a song, or I might, think about her in that way. And that's where it can be a little more emotional. But as far as on Mother's Day for me, it hasn't for a while been necessarily a difficult one. So people will say that, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, no, it's fine. If you had asked me that like 15 years ago, even, I probably would have reacted differently. And that's kind of how, for me, talking about non-traditional mother relationships. So my mom died when I was 7. I didn't have a direct, mom in my life, but I had lots of, I wouldn't say replacement moms, but bonus moms, additional moms that helped. So I had 2 grandparents, a great grandparent, several, like 4, 5, 6 something aunts and uncles, and they would step in different ways and help out our family, or take us on vacation, or watch me and my siblings. And I think about each of those aunts in different ways from the time when I was little up until today. Their role in my life has ebbed and flowed and changed, and I can remember the ways that they helped me or they helped my family. And there are things today that I will learn about, whether it's from another aunt or another family member, or my dad, who will tell me about things that, like promises that were made. So my mom knew she was dying and talked with her family members and asked them to do things to, have us attend a certain school, a certain church, and to take care of us, and to help us with school, and to, help my dad out in certain ways. She asked them to do things for our family, and they agreed to do those things, to my knowledge. And, I remember those things. Did I look at them at the time as mother figures? No, they were my aunts, and I loved them all for various different reasons. I had the cool aunt, I had the strict aunt, I had the mean aunt, I had the fun aunt. I had like different aunts for different things, and at the time, those may have been my views. Today, I look at them all in different ways as our relationships have ebbed and flowed, and I can recognize the effort that they put in, whether it was because of a promise that was made, or whether it was because that was something that they wanted to do or felt called to do. We all can have, I guess all that to say that we all can have mother figures in our lives, and we can lose someone. Today I'm talking about mothers. For you, maybe it's a grandparent or a father or a sibling, and we can't replace those people. We can't bring them back. But the role that they may play in our lives the role that other people can play in our lives could benefit us more if we open our hearts to that. I know that I've had clients where we have this conversation, around whether it's a mom or a dad figure or something in between, and just really wishing they had that, and really upset that the current figure they have is either, deceased or just not a good person and not able or capable of giving them what they need, and being able to find who that person is in their lives currently. Maybe it's a church member, maybe it's an elder, maybe it's a friend's mom, and you can become really close to that person. And it's not the same, right? It's never going to be necessarily the same, but also our lives can be what we make of it, and we can allow someone in, or we can keep them at arm's length. And I was guilty of that for a long time. Like I said, my mom died when I was 7, and for the longest time I wouldn't call anybody mom. So in a time when you're in middle school, high school, and your good friends, you have really good friends and you're at their house all the time. And, a lot of my friends would call their friends' mom's mom. And I refused to say that. My siblings did it. My siblings did it with some of their best friends' parents. I would never do it. It took me a while. I would think I was a sophomore or junior in high school before I think I did that for the first time. And that almost felt like a relief to be able to do that, to kind of give that, I don't know, say power up, to give that control over, and to be able to, maybe honor that person with that label. And actually that person was, at the time, my high school theater teacher and English teacher and director. And now she is actually my mother-in-law. So I didn't know that at the time, didn't know that that was something that was going to happen. But everybody on the crew, everybody who worked with her in the theater after school would call her mom. And I refused to do it. I think it was about a year, maybe it was a little less. I just know that I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't call her mom. I'd call her by her last name. And then I finally, one day, I don't know why, I don't know what the decision point was, but I did call her mom, and then that's all I call her, and that's all I call her now. And that was a big step for me because I never did that before with anybody. I felt like, nobody else is my mom. I can't, I'm not replacing my mom. I can't do that. But there was this realization, that calling somebody else mom doesn't mean that they're replacing your mom, or that that it makes your mom less special. So finding another person in your life who you might need to take on that role doesn't mean that your mom wasn't a good mom, doesn't mean that they aren't special. It just means that you are, you could see it as honoring your mom, depending on that relationship. I obviously loved my mom. I didn't have any complaints about my mom. I also was really young, so I don't know. I didn't have any complaints to have about her. And so it almost at times felt like maybe dishonoring for someone who maybe has lost a mom, whether that's through death or, distance. You may not feel like that it's an honor to call somebody else mom. You could see it as honoring them, that's a high esteem to be, is to call someone mom means you really love them and care about them. Or that you have been able to see other people in that light, aside and separate from maybe the mom who has hurt you. So I think that there are lots of ways we can look at these things. Also for like people who haven't had the best maybe mom role model, or maybe non-existent one like me. Not that I didn't have role models. I did. I had lots of good role models. But as I said, it's not the same as your mom, your own personal mom. It can be hard to then know necessarily what to do. That wasn't something that I initially realized or thought about, but as my kids have gotten older and as I have grown as a mom, I, do come to that realization that, I don't know how to do this. I never saw anybody do this, on a daily basis. I saw my grandparents do it. I saw my dad do it. And that can be hard sometimes to think about that, I didn't have that opportunity, and that can feel a little lacking or a little missing, and wondering if, you're doing it right or how to do it. And I definitely don't do everything right by any means. And I do have the same worries as most people out there. Am I messing them up? Are they going to remember the bad days over the good days? And, I obviously hope not, but I know I'm a therapist, so I talk to people who have mom problems and dad problems all the time. And, I hope is that, as a mom and as we grow, whether you had a good mom role model or not, that you are learning and you are doing and you are changing. And if you recognize that you've done something that maybe you're not proud of, or that you aren't okay with, or that upsets you, thinking about that, you can change that. And, we can't like take traumas away necessarily, but we can help them to recover that, and we can help them to recognize you as somebody who is trying and who's doing the work and who's wanting to do better. So for me, it's, I actually had a conversation on Mother's Day with one of my aunts, who's my aunt, who's now the great aunt to my kids. And she also has a younger daughter who is my children's age. So she's a great aunt to them and mom to a younger cousin to me. And she was just talking to me about how she watched me grow up from, being an infant to when my mom died to teenager and college, and, all the experiences she had with me then, and then to watch me be a mom and to watch my kids grow up. And, she was just sharing some of those and how proud she is and what she has seen. And, that's always nice to hear from, family members or people who love you and care about you. Sometimes that's family members, sometimes that's other people in your community, people that you have, your chosen mom, your chosen family. Some of us need those. Not all of us have families that are loving and caring and kind and want to be around us. And, that is really sad, and that is really unfortunate. And so for those of us, even those who had good families, maybe still find that we're lacking in some areas, it's okay to find the people to fill those holes and those gaps for you. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Sometimes that's our own control. That's our own barrier that we have to move through, that barrier in our mind. Like, well, they're not my real mom, or they're not my real fill in the blank. That doesn't necessarily have to be your biological parent or your adoptive parent or something like that to be a parent figure in your life. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that today and my experience. And like I said, I'm not really super sad about Mother's Day anymore. I may shed some tears here and there if I decide to go down, into my saved items and read some of the cards that she wrote me, or look at some pictures, or if I write a Facebook post about her, then I will probably shed some tears. But otherwise, on a daily basis, especially on Mother's Day, it's not necessarily something that I am getting overly upset about. And that's okay. It has been a while. That time heals all wounds. There's some truth to that. Just in that you learn to live with your grief, you learn to live with the loss, and you incorporate it into your life. And there's a lot of healing involved in that as well. And I'm going to continue to go through phases in my life as I enter this period in life where I didn't have a mom. And so I am experiencing this for the first time, without, having lived through a life where I had a mom, at this age. So it's all a little different and feels a little different. And, I'm learning from friends and other therapists and my mother-in-law and my husband and my family in, what that might look like and how it might look different for me than it did, as a parent, than it did for me as a child. I hope you all had a wonderful Mother's Day, whether it was everything you hoped for or not. Just know that you are a mom and you are worth it, and you are a mom to someone in your life, whether that is your own children or someone else's children, or mentoring someone that they look up to you and they respect you and they are grateful for you being here, and they need you just as much as maybe you need them. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you again next week.